Hey guys, hey guys! I just made a video early this morning, and I told you I had to clean the gutters and mow the lawn, so I couldn't make any more videos. Well, it rained, so oh well. Guess I can't mow the lawn. I'm so sad. Not one of my favorite chores, as you can see. But the time frame I had to mow the lawn and clean the gutters, I'm able to make this video. One I had thought of that I wanted to do today, along with the other two that I put into one video. So the African bishops released a statement 2 days ago, January 11th, about the situation in Africa in regards to fiducia supplicans, I guess you can say, supplicant of trust, I think it's translated. But the document, everyone's getting in a panic about over here in the States because of YouTube. Basically, so I'm going to read the document and then we'll go from there. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a long document, but I'll read parts of it. It says the bishops' conferences generally prefer each bishop remaining free in his diocese not to offer blessings to same-sex couples. Cardinal Ambongo, he's the leader of the African conference, called on Christian communities, and this is a quote from the cardinal, the African cardinal: "Do not allow yourselves to be shaken. His Holiness, Pope Francis, fiercely opposed to any form of cultural colonization in Africa, blesses the African people with all his heart and encourages them to remain faithful, as always, to the defense of Christian values." And I'll read a little bit more in a second. But basically, he releases a letter and he shows how he addressed His Holiness Pope Francis and Cardinal Fernandez with a great deal of respect, the respect that's due a pope and a cardinal. Unlike many over here in America that, I guess it's the modern thing to bash a pope. Remember Pope Pius X in his statement to priests, to modernists, you need to love your pope and respect your pope. If you've never read that letter, you should read it, because he predicted these modernists today that bash Pope Francis. I mean, he just, anyway. But getting back to the African bishops, a lot of people were surprised that he said Pope Francis and Cardinal Fernandez were in agreement with them. If you listen to YouTube, the Africans are resisting. Another group of bishops are resisting. Let's resist. It's like Martin Luther all over again, pulling all the Catholics to go against the Pope. And that's not what happened. The African bishops had a dialogue with Pope Francis and explained to them why they don't want to do it. And he agreed, yes, I agree, you should not do it. And I'm going to read you why. And it should not be surprising because, like I said, I read that document after a 15-hour workday, and it was clear to me. Number one, right out of the gate, it said, it clearly reaffirms church teaching that a marriage is between one man and one woman, and we cannot bless anything that can be confused with that. And then it also said that each bishop should make a decision for his own diocese, that he should use prudence to decide how he wants to go about this. So the African conference decided they don't want to do it at all, and they'll explain why in a minute. And Cardinal Fernandez came out the next day and said, we have no problem with this. This is what the document said. Now, the document was written for educated, intelligent clergy, which the Catholic Church has. I was a Protestant 30 years, and I got to tell you, the education that Catholic priests and bishops go through is much higher than most Protestant churches. Presbyterians, they're usually very educated. But in general, this letter was for an educated audience. And then they used prudence with their diocese. Now, and if there wasn't YouTube, we probably wouldn't even know about this. Like in the old days when the Pope told the priests and the bishops to do stuff, it wasn't blasted and criticized by every YouTuber in the nation. But anyway, so this is what the African bishops write. We, the African bishops, do not consider it appropriate for Africa to bless homosexual unions or same-sex couples because, in our context, this would cause confusion and would be in direct contradiction to the cultural ethos of African communities. While recognizing the declaration Fiducia Supplicans, supplicating trust, while we recognize that the declaration Fiducia Supplicans on the pastoral meaning of blessings does not change church teachings about human sexuality and marriage. So they're saying they know, they've read the document, they understand it. The bishops understand it. It's not changing a thing, you know. Pope Francis on June 20th, 2023, this past summer, told the Associated Press in an interview, homosexuality is a sin. On May 15, 2021, Pope Francis approved an official document released by the Vatican that said the church cannot bless same-sex unions because God cannot bless sin. So that's the context of all this. The only thing that changed was the discipline. If a homosexual came up to you looking for a blessing, looking to be delivered from his homosexual lifestyle, looking to be a better Christian, if he was in a same-sex union, could you bless him? And can you bless his partner? And the answer is yes. But they have to consent to wanting to change. In other words, repent. So, while recognizing the declaration Fiducia Supplicans on the pastoral meaning of blessings does not change church teaching about human sexuality and marriage, the language it uses remains too subtle for simple people to understand. For simple people, uneducated people to understand. Now, unfortunately, YouTube has dumbed down the American church. It just has. I get the most ridiculous statements. I just did a video reading 1 John where John says, God is love. If you abide in love, you abide in God. And I'm talking about how this was motivated by love to deliver sinners, and how exorcist priest Father Iannuzzi said these blessings can actually be a minor exorcism because some people need to be delivered from these demons that keep them in irregular sexual unions. And I get a comment, oh, when it says God is love, he's not talking about gay love. I'm like, really? You got that from what I said? Are you that brainwashed from YouTube that you think I'm saying that the Bible is saying gay love is equal to God's love? Like, how do you even argue with that? It's like C.S. Lewis said, some arguments are like, questions like, what's the color yellow smell like? I get these ridiculous arguments from Protestants like, you're asking me such a dumb question, or atheists, you're asking me such a dumb question. How do I even answer that? But Catholics, from watching so many grifters on YouTube, just want to anger them up and stir up the anger and starting a new Reformation, just like Martin Luther said, I'm not going to leave the church. I'm going to reform the church. I heard Taylor Marshall the other day say, we don't leave the church. If someone breaks into your house, you throw them out. No, you broke into our house, Taylor. Pope Francis has been a Catholic from day one. He's been a father of a church. He's been a son of the church longer than you've called yourself a Catholic. You broke into our house. But he's making it sound like Pope Francis and Cardinal Fernandez broke in and we got to get rid of them. So he's like, don't leave. Let's push them out. Let's change things. Let's reform things the way they used to be. This is the argument of Martin Luther, of every schismatic from the beginning of the church. Martin Luther, the old Catholics that rejected Vatican I. Lefebvre, who rejected Vatican II. The Sedevacanus, who reject every pope after Vatican II. Same schism, different name. But they dumbed down the American Catholic. But if you could push all the noise out and just read that document in the context of everything else Pope Francis has said, homosexuality is a sin, the church cannot bless same-sex unions because God cannot bless sin, early on his pontificate, 2012, he excommunicated Father Greg Reynolds for blessing a same-sex union. Yeah, that was Pope Francis who did that. That same year, when they asked Pope Francis about that, Pope Francis himself said, "No pope, no church can change the definition of marriage. God created marriage between one man and one woman." So there you have it. The African bishops say Pope Francis and Cardinal Fernandez are in agreement with them under using their prudence. In Africa, they cannot even use this blessing. These people have to, if they want to be blessed and delivered from the homosexual lifestyle, they have to come up alone. And, that's how they got to do it. In America, there might be some pastors that can have the two people together praying for both of their deliverance from their homosexual lifestyle. And again, when I say God is love and he loves these people, I'm not saying he loves their lifestyle or loves their sin. I'm saying he loves them enough to deliver them, In Jesus' day, the great sin was adultery. And Jesus forgave the adulterous woman and said, "Go and sin no more." And this is what the church is saying. But the Pharisees in Jesus' day wanted everybody to stone the adulterous woman. And the Pharisees today, in Pope Francis' day, wants everybody to stone the homosexual. And Pope Francis is saying, he said it, homosexuality is a sin. But we can't turn away the sinner. Jesus never did. And we're supposed to follow Christ. So we shouldn't. So I'll give you more on that as it comes down the pike. But God bless and stay Catholic.